You are listening to Viewpoints from PlaceCloud. Cultural researchers tell stories of places from around the world. For the full multimedia experience and to support the creators you enjoy, visit placecloud.io.
You're stood on Tower Street, outside what was once Lloyds Coffeehouse, first established in 1686. Lloyd's was a place that, mainly men, met and discussed business over a cup of the new hot beverage in 17th century England, coffee. Coffee houses emerged due to the new social practice of drinking coffee, as it began to be imported into Europe in the early 17th century. Importantly, this new, exotic beverage demanded new social spaces within which to consume it. Coffee houses emerged as alternatives to the more licentious taverns and quickly became public spaces where men of business and ideas met. These new sociable spaces posed a threat to the dominance of the royal court in London's intellectual and cultural life, and both Charles II and James II tried to regulate and diminish the coffee house's influence. Lloyd's was one of an estimated 550 coffee shops in 17th and 18th century London. As a historian of masculinity, I'm really interested in how these particularly masculine spaces attracted specific types of men as devotees and patrons. For example, White's Coffeehouse in St James's was frequented by politicians close to their Mayfair townhouses and the Houses of Parliament. Men of science met at Garraway's Coffeehouse, and plantation owners and slave traders met at Jamaica Coffeehouse on Cornhill. More than just a place to meet your friends over a cup of coffee, coffee houses were spaces in which mostly men gathered to read and share news, complete business and commercial transactions, and Lloyd's was particularly famous for this, and exchange sometimes radical intellectual ideas. Less industrious or illustrious coffeehouse activities included gossiping, gambling, spying, and tobacco smoking. This final activity, tobacco smoking, reminds us of coffeehouses' direct connections to Britain's growing empire. Tobacco leaves were grown on colonial plantations and picked by enslaved peoples, and were smoked or snuffed in the coffeehouses of Europe. London's coffeehouses, therefore, were built on the very stuff of empire and global trade, coffee and tobacco. The tastes and smells of the Levant, the Orient, and the exotic filled the coffeehouse space. Lloyd's had a much stronger connection to global trade than most London coffeehouses. Lloyd's, in its early days, was frequented by sailors, merchants, and insurance brokers. Soon, the mercantile patrons formed their own insurance company, Lloyd's of London. Lloyd's of London underwrote shipping insurance for many slaving ships over the 18th and 19th centuries, and it still exists today as the premier insurance brokers in the city of London. This legacy reminds us that it was not just the products of empire and slavery, but the profits and business of global trade and enslavement were directly tied to these places. Britain's empire and its prominent role in the trafficking of enslaved peoples was very much a part of London's history, and slavery and empire was not a far-flung thing. These debates are being discussed by historians and indeed the public more and more in recent years.